What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, the Just Gonna Say It podcast on Dylan Talks Tone. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you all are having a great week so far. If you're from the United States, chances are, maybe not everybody got yesterday off, but if you got yesterday off, I hope you had a good day off. I did a bunch of chores. So there you go. Today we are going to talk about why I think. Why are you bringing a frog in the house?
I'm saving him for your doggies.
And you just let him out in the foyer. And he just pissed all over you. Yeah, good job.
It's fine.
Good job.
Oh, it's still peeing.
Brianna just brought a frog in the house, and now it's peeing everywhere. So we're going to talk about why I think that why I don't worry about Tonewood, what a guitar is made out of, and why I don't think you should either. I think it kills the fun. I think it takes all the fun out of all this guitar playing stuff, and that is what you need to clean that up too. And that is what we are going to talk about today. I should remind everybody that this is an ad-free podcast, so we don't run ads during our podcasts and our live streams anyway. And so if you want to support the channel, you're welcome to ask a question during the podcast. If you want to use a super chat, I'll try to drop what I'm doing and answer that question right away. You can also go to DylanTalksTone.com and you can buy pickups and etc. And so you can go ahead and buy pickups and hats and all kinds of etc. The other thing too, there's a couple other ways you can support the channel. You can go to the links in the description. A couple of note this week that I wanted to mention is StewMac is still having a bunch of tool sales, and they're having sales on a couple of my very favorite things. The Z file over there. For those of you that wonder, I get the regular one. The Z file, I think is like 20-something% off. The fret files are like 20% off, which is killer. And then the ever so, the thing nobody likes, the nut height gauge, the digital nut height gauge. That thing is amazing, and it's on sale as well. Looks like we have a super chat from Kyle. Good news, I got my pickups in the mail. Canada Post isn't in full strike mode yet. Oh, excellent. Thank goodness. Oh, awesome. Well, that's great, man. I'm glad because we had a few shipments that I was worried that they were actually going to get stuck over there. So that's awesome. And then the other one I want to mention is, we just came out with this video, and this is actually kind of what's prompting a little bit of this conversation today, is the Pearson Instruments aluminum guitar, that one right back there. That guitar is, what are they, $6.99, I think, at PearsonInstruments.com. If you use code Dylan, you get a discount off of it. A couple people ordered them last night, and they let me know that they got like 35 or 40 bucks off or something, which is cool because it offsets some of the shipping because they come from New Zealand. So I don't know what it is for where you live, but just FYI, that'll help to offset some of that. And then, so check those out. So, okay. Here's what I want to talk about. I've been having a lot of fun lately with this funky guitar from New Zealand. It's super cool. I've really been enjoying it. I've been learning more about it, understanding how it's built. I really want to take it apart and Cerakote some parts and maybe laser etch some stuff and make it super cool. I think that'd be neat. I'd like to put some new pickups in it. I want to play around with it. It's really a cool guitar because it's so different, right? It's so neat. And And I've also been playing my carbon fiber stuff too, you know. And then as I look around my office and I look at the guitars that I've got here, I've got basically a little of everything when it comes to materials. And guess what? I like them all. I don't think I have any poplar right now, but I've had it. Don't care. It's totally fine. And I think what happens is it doesn't need to just apply to the material that a guitar is made out of, but it's been on my mind because of this aluminum guitar and because of some of the conversations that are going on like my Facebook page and in the comments of these videos and stuff. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. You know, back in the old days when manufacturers were making guitars in the very beginning, it was an availability issue. Okay. There was nobody tap testing stuff, right? This was like, hey, I need 1,000 of these. How many, or 10,000 of these, you know, I need enough to build 10,000 guitars. What wood can I use? Well, you know, swamp ash is available. Oh, all of a sudden lately, swamp ash isn't available. So what do we have to do? With globalization, the other thing that comes up is guitars that come from all over the world. The stuff that comes from Asia, the stuff that comes, you know, East Asia, and then the stuff that comes from Indonesia. It could be any manner of materials, right? In fact, a lot of the things that you think they are aren't what they are, right? So if something says mahogany on it, if something says sapele on it, if something says NATO, that NYATO, whatever that wood is, that just means tree. I don't know if you know that. That wood just means tree, that name. So it could be any number of things. Fill in the blank that basically is sort of within these parameters of cost, weight to measurement, and, you know, that's it, really. So there are so many different materials being used, and guitars are cool. Like, guitars are just neat. Everybody's making neat stuff. It doesn't matter anymore. The only person it matters to is the person who makes a big deal out of it. And I think what happens is, it just takes the fun out of it, right? To be honest with you, it's not just a Tonewood thing. It's a lot of things. It could be any of this stuff that we talk about on this channel and on all kinds of other social media outlets and various places. Like, why are you taking the fun out of fun? Like, we're playing guitar. This is super fun. Why are you taking the fun out of it? That's why I don't worry about it. Do I want my guitar to sound better? Yeah, absolutely. But how am I going to do that? You know what? I am going to do that. Like, I'm just going to play. I'm just going to enjoy whatever I have. It doesn't matter what it is. If I don't like it, I don't like it. Do I need to figure out why I don't like it? Maybe if the guitar's not mechanically sound, if the pickup sucks, and that's it. Those are the two things. If it's too heavy, I don't really like super heavy guitars. I give Les Pauls a pass at about 9 pounds. I don't like anything, or maybe 10. I don't like a 12 pounder. You know what I mean? I want my tellies to be 6.5, 6. I want my strats to be under 7.5. I like lighter guitars, you know? So that's it. I don't care what they're made of. I don't care. I don't care if they're 3D printed. I don't care if they're carbon fiber. I don't care if they're aluminum. You know why? Because this is an interesting thing. Everybody wants to compare all of these materials like, well, it's aluminum, so it's going to sound metal. Well, guess what? It doesn't. It doesn't. And what's interesting is the further you get from the norm, honestly, the more acceptable it should be because you have no reference for it, right? It doesn't matter because there's no comparison, right? That thing right there that I've got on the couch, you can't compare with anything. It's just its own thing. It's so cool. So whatever it sounds like, is it. It doesn't need, you don't need to compare it to anything, right? And so when people are, you know, in their bedroom with their iPhone and like, well, this mahogany and that, and this brighter fretboard and that darker fretboard, you know, because that one's tan and this one's brown, and you know, like all that stuff. Who cares? Who cares? If the guitar's good, it's good. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, get something else. Get something else. But it doesn't have to turn into a dogmatic religion, which is what it is. That's what it's turned into. And it just takes the fun out of it. It takes the fun of it. Honestly, it takes the fun out of making videos. It takes the fun out of playing guitar. It takes the fun out of talking about it with your friends. Because guess what? You don't have any. If you spend a bunch of time hating on other people in the comments because you don't like the same Tonewood they like, and you don't believe the same way, that you don't have any friends anyway. So I guess it doesn't matter. But that's the thing, right? Like, it's just the wrong focus. It's just the wrong focus. I don't care about the wood in my electrics, but I kind of do with acoustic. You know, okay, so seeing that's a different thing, right? Because we go from an electric transducer to a percussion instrument. A totally different thing. And, but even then, it's general, right? Because one of the things we're talking about, we had our member hangout last night. So once a month, there's a level on Patreon and for YouTube members where we get together and hang out in a Zoom hangout thing. And there was an engineer there last night. He said, I remember in first year engineer school talking about this, and nobody cares. Nobody cares because it's a non-thing. Because either you just like this and you like that and it doesn't matter, right? We're not building aircraft and saving people's lives. We're not designing bridges that don't collapse. We're not designing skyscrapers that need to stay up, right? This is fun. This is fun. So nobody cares. So he said they tried to get, he brought it up a couple times last night. I thought it was interesting that he said they kind of tried to bring up these concepts, right? Of like the Tonewood generally kind of concept. And in electric guitars, and everybody's like, well, I mean, you could make a big deal out of this, but why? It's dumb. Which I think is hilarious because it's true. It's totally true. It's totally true. Kyle, we have a super chat from you. Thank you, sir. If it sounds good, it is good. That's what I say too. Yeah, exactly. Searching for Tone. Missed my first one. Dude, I'd love to have you there because you are on that level on Patreon, so I'd love to have you there. That'd be great. Actually, I care about my electrics being wood when they are supposed to be wood. Same. Absolutely. Same. And you bring up a good point, Rob. It's okay to like more than one thing. Okay. So I like carbon fiber and I like aluminum. I really will. If I want to screw around with some other composites, I'd love to screw around with 3D printed stuff. I think that's neat. But does that mean I don't like my mahogany Les Paul or my alder Strat or my I don't know what else do I got over there? You know, whatever, right? No. It's not a binary thing, right? You can like a Kemper and you can like a tube amp. You can like a wooden guitar. You can like a mahogany guitar and an alder guitar. You can like a Strat and a Tele. You can like Gibson and Fender at the same time. Like you can. It's totally cool. I'm telling you that it's totally cool. End of story. You don't need to worry about it. Like we don't need to worry about any of this, you know? Now when it comes to like, what do I want to do to change the sound of the guitar that I have, right? That's different. So if you have, because people will accuse me of, well, if you say nothing matters, then why do we even talk about any of this? Here's why. If you have a guitar already, right? Or if you're trying to make a choice, then it's a matter of weighting. WEIGHTING. It's a matter of weighting the criteria. It's a matter of weighing. Both words are so criteria weighting. Okay, which means what is important to you? Like, sit down and draw a Venn diagram and be like, what is important to you? Okay, I'm going to tell you the things that are important to me about a guitar. Okay, these are probably different for you. You can get in the comments and talk about it. All right, this would be a fun conversation. So, and what you'll find is what the guitar is made out of matters none in most conversations, right? Unless you're just like a wood guy, right? If you like how maple looks, that's cool. But that's one of the criteria that needs to be weighed, right? So, criteria weighting. So here we go. We're gonna go through mine. Number one, the guitar, for me, I have to like how it looks. 100%. If it does not appeal to me, this is with everything. It could be fountain pens, pocket knives, guns, guitars, cars, whatever. Doesn't matter. Refrigerator. Can't have an ugly refrigerator, right? You got to look at it all the time. It's got to look nice. Okay. So for a guitar, the other thing is probably the next thing is gonna be weight. I want the guitar to not be super heavy. I also want the guitar to be relatively, if it's really well balanced, that's going to stand out to me. I don't care if it's 100%, like, a Les Paul's got like a big butt on it, I think some of the traditional designs sort of get a pass in my mind because they already exist, right? But even then, it's got to balance, kind of. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm fighting to play the guitar, right? Like, I want it to be easy to play. And then beyond that, I would like a dark colored fretboard over a light colored fretboard. I typically like black and brown fretboards over maple, just because I like the way they look and I like the way they feel. I like the way the rawness of, like the Black Kingwood stuff we have on some of our guitars, and rosewood and ebony. I like that feeling. I like just how it feels. I would rather it have a nitrocellulose or something finish that is not plasticky feeling. So like on some of my Texas Toast guitars, I've got that 73 finish that's sort of flat and sort of tactile. If you haven't figured it out yet, lots of things for me are very tactile. And this actually comes down to it for lots of stuff. Even shirts. Like this shirt doesn't have a pattern, but like a lot of my fabrics that I wear, like if I go buy a dress shirt, if it's got some kind of texture to it, I'm going to choose that over one that doesn't, right? The seats in my car, the texture, it's a texture thing. I like textures, but I like it to like them. I don't want to not like them. So if it feels weird, I don't want it. And then I would say that's really it. I think that's it for me. Now, what it's made of pretty much doesn't matter. Beyond this, then the thing that will make me walk away from a guitar is if it's not mechanically sound. So these things are all the choices that I make for the guitar are mechanically sound, notwithstanding, right? Like the guitar has to work. So first of all, let's get that out. I guess we should have got that out of the way first. The guitar's got to work. So it's got to not have any rattles. It's got to be on point. Like it's got to work. So the guitar's got to work properly. That should be a given. There should be no conversation about that. If the guitar doesn't work right, don't even choose it. Okay. And when I say work, I don't mean like the switches and knobs and you have all the functions. I mean buzzes, setup, all that stuff. The thing should be able to be set up properly and perfectly to whatever spec you choose. And if it does not, then you should not choose the guitar. End of story. Beyond that, then all these other things. Tone doesn't even matter to me that much because I personally, for me, it's different for you probably, but for me, I can change it. And a lot of times when I pick up something for the first time, I'll be like, oh, this is cool. That's it. I'm not like, okay, there's this little mid-range. I don't care about that. Like, I can shape all that. I can change that. I can do whatever. But if when I pick it up and I go, okay, it looks awesome. It feels awesome. And it plays great because the setup is good. And if the setup's not good, I can fix it. So that's cool. So mechanically it works. And it sounds pretty good. And except for this one thing, and I can fix that by changing whatever. Pickups, pots, whatever. So that's it. That's all I care. I don't care what it's made of. It could be made of concrete and it could get me to that point. It could be made of, I don't know, whatever. I don't care. And then when it comes to the actual tone of the guitar, then I get really, really picky, but knowing that I can adjust those things. So now we have a guitar that we've chosen, right? So now we're like, okay, what's a good example of this? Okay, one of my Texas Toast Challengers. So Texas Toast Challenger to me is that guitar. The tactile feel of it, the materials chosen for how they feel, how they look, everything, the balance, the weight, everything. And even when I order one of those, I don't care how it sounds because I can say, hey, Matt, put these pickups in it and I will be happy with it, right? So now I get a guitar and now I already have the guitar. You may already have a guitar. You may have already chosen a Classic Vibe Squire Telly because it does all the things, right? Plays great, looks great, feels great. You could afford it, and it's that. Now you want to make some changes. You already own the guitar. Now you want to make some changes. This is where all the nerdery starts, right? Okay, now it doesn't have enough highs. Now the pickups are a little muddy. I've got a scratchy pot. Now we start problem solving. Now we start to get nerdy. Now we start to go, okay, if I put 500K pots in this, what will happen? What will happen if I change the capacitor from a 15 to a 22? What will happen if I put this pickup in it? What will happen if I adjust the height of my pickups? What will happen if I play around with in and out of phase? What will happen if I put hotter pickups in it? What will happen if I go to an Alnico 8 magnet instead of an Alnico 5? All that super nerdy stuff comes into play now. It has nothing to do with what the guitar is made of because we've already established that, right? And so that's why I say it doesn't matter. So now, for example, we have this aluminum guitar. We have this aluminum guitar back here. The guitar's already made, right? There's no point in getting in a Facebook group or on the internet and going, you know what? It's aluminum, so it's going to be crap. Okay, you're a moron. It's not, actually. It's pretty neat. And, you might not think so, but the reason you're saying it's crap is because you have a lot of biases against this particular instrument for various reasons other than the fact that it's ugly. Because it is ugly, right? It's wild looking, and so that could be very polarizing. But is it a good guitar? Yes, it's a very good guitar. Everything about it works. All the things we talked about, except for maybe looks, and there's some stuff that you may not personally like. But when we talk about the functionality of the guitar, the fact that the thing exists and it's really neat, okay, and it works well. Aluminum notwithstanding, doesn't even matter. It already exists. Okay, so now I don't like the pickups because they're just cheap pickups. It's a $600 guitar, whatever. Right? Makes sense. It's just kind of how that price point is. All right, so now what do? What are we going to do? Well, we're going to make a video about it and we're going to make it better. But that's where this kind of stuff starts to matter. From Kyle, thanks for the super chat. I have a cool Vox Phantom that I love the looks, but I'm not into the pickups, so it's only going to be used on music videos. I would like to get better pickups for it. It's got Strat-like pickups. Yeah, let me know. We could probably make something happen with that. Yeah, it'd be fun. The tone is in the angle of my eyelashes. I dig it. Let's see. It's hard to click the like without having to know if I agree with anything you're about to say. So here's the problem. This is the problem. I don't care if you agree. If you like guitar stuff, you like guitar stuff. We don't have to agree. I don't agree with you on everything. I don't care. That's what I'm talking about. If you focus so much on that, it takes the fun out of everything. It takes the fun out of it. But when we're like, hey, I want to go on an adventure, and I want to make some music. I want to hang out online or in person with some people I don't know, and I want to talk about guitar stuff, and I want to have a good time. Then it's fun. But if you take it from the perspective of wrong and right, and I disagree, therefore there is no conversation, you're just a moron. 50-50. I bet Dylan can make those. Yeah, oh, for sure. How it looks and it catches my eye. How it plays will get my want going, and how it sounds will determine whether it has a new address. I dig that. Yeah. So the sounds thing will probably be different for you than it is for me, right? Because I have the capacity to make it sound however I want. You have, and I'm not saying it's free because I have to buy the parts and do all the work and it's time and everything. But you have more of a cost associated with that, right? So you have to call me and buy pickups and wait for them and all that kind of stuff. So you have to invest in changing the sound probably more than I do. So that will be more important to you than it is to me. I get that totally. No, I love it. I think the funnest part about all of this is separating. I really like thinking about, I guess what it is, I really like thinking about that whole decision weighting, criteria weighting concept. Like, if you really think about your decision-making criteria for a guitar, and really be honest with yourself about it. Does it play good? Does it sound good? And does it look good? Maybe not in that order, whatever those, but usually those are the three things. Does it play good? Does it sound good? And does it look good? Beyond that, you're like, and then you can get a little more picky, but the people that are really like, I can't play this fretboard radius. I can't play this fret size. I can't play blah, 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 blah. That tells me that you don't like playing guitar that much. That you find more interest in arguing about guitar than actually playing guitar. Because if you did like guitar playing as much as you should, well, as I think you should, then you would find some sense of adventure in trying stuff, in and having all the things, right? Like, if you're a real enthusiast about this, you're going to be enthusiastic about all the things. I think, and you may feel differently about that. You might just be, okay, you might be a Strat freak, and you might just have like 60 Strats and nothing else. That's cool too. I get it. But there's a sense of adventure in that too, right? But the people who are sort of like minimize their choices based on a bunch of stuff that is like, really? Like, you're going to not buy it because it's made of this, or you're not going to buy it because it's this, whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't know. It's weird. It's just a weird way to live, in my opinion. Black Limba. Let's see. Does it not? I'm at the point where I know a few open chords, but I can't make big bar chords yet. Very beginning. Oh, dude, that's cool. You know what's funny about that? I can make bar chords. I like open chords more. I like really open stuff. I think it's fun. Yeah. And I see everybody's giving him some tips in there. You also, probably all of you who are given some tips about this probably are the same way I am, in the respect that, okay, you might have started out. My dad's a jazz guitarist and he's a guitar teacher, right? Like, wrote a book and everything. And he is still very like, your thumb is wrapping over the top too much. You're doing, right? And so I learned like the very proper ways of like making a bar chord, for example. And if you watch me play, I cheat everything, right? Like, so you'll find very quickly, like, that's close enough, and it gives me the sound that I want, right? You'll figure that out. Yeah. Yeah, you'll figure that out. Just getting to the point where my chord changes are fluid enough that I can get into a groove. Oh, that's rad. That's a good feeling, isn't it? That's a really good feeling. When you and that does not change. I'll tell you that right now. If you've been playing guitar for one day or your entire life, that does not change. When you learn a new song, or when you write a new song, or you compose something, or if you're just, maybe what you're doing, maybe you're looking at, I don't know, but maybe you're looking at some chord progressions, trying to learn a song, and looking at some tabs, and you got a 3 or 4 chord song, and you nail it, and you get those chord progressions, and you get in the pocket on that song. That feels really good. That feeling never goes away. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. You could be playing for years and years and years. You try something new. You learn a new song. You play with somebody you've never played with before. All of a sudden, you're in the pocket with them. Same feeling. Always happens. Never goes away. That's really cool. I dig that a lot. Let's see. Another super chat. I have a white Jazzmaster that sounds good, but I hate the way it looks. So I got a surf green Jazzmaster. I'm happy now. So looks are important to me. I get that. Oh, that was one of the other things I was going to mention at the top of the podcast when we're starting to talk about sponsors and stuff, because we don't really have sponsors. So I just give you a couple of links to look at and stuff that help out the channel. One of the things I was going to say at the top of the podcast today is, when you go to dylantalkstone.com, look around, and we've got a bunch of that custom stuff. So the reason I brought this up with your guitar, Kyle, is because you don't like this white Jazzmaster. I bet there's a lot of really neat stuff we could do to make that guitar cool looking, right? You already have some of my custom stuff. You just got it. Despite the Canada strike, you just got your stuff. So, look around, and if you have an idea for some pickup covers, for some single coil tops, for some matching pick guard, for some whatever, hit me. We'll see if we can make it happen, because I really, really, really enjoy doing that stuff. It's super fun. It's super fun. I need a garage band in Edmonton. I dig it. You use a Nano Cortex? Yeah, cool. And Dimebake's talking about a Tone X1. Dude, get a Tone X1. Those are neat. Yeah, those are super cool. Tone X, I have one of those. It's really awesome. You taught me that my cheap Yamaha Pacifica is more than enough, and it's time to get into playing and learning. Oh yeah, and so I don't have one of those, and we haven't had one on the channel ever. I have played them though, and I would say if I could, I don't know. This is a video I should do. Like, I'm just gonna write this down. Like the top 5 most recommended. Oh, we did do it. But this was not on the list. We kind of did like a top 5 most recommended. You have to try this guitar. And I said the Classic Vibe series. But I would say an honorable mention to that would be the Yamaha Pacifica. I cannot tell you, we do not get through a week where somebody in a comment section on one of our social media outlets, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it's called, YouTube, anywhere, will say Yamaha Pacifica is a good guitar, especially on the entry level side. It's a really good guitar. Apparently, people really, 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 really like them. And I've only played them a couple of times, but I cannot recall them being terrible at all. I can recall them being just a really good guitar. Super recommendable. Yeah, super recommendable. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and if you have some guitar questions, get them in here. Hey, Dylan, when winding coils, I noticed you wind over the top of the guide rod. Is there any difference when going under the guide rod? Yeah, you can't manage it. You can't manage tension because you'd be pulling up. There's no way to manage tension that way. I've done it by accident. It ain't pretty. Yeah. So basically what you would be doing is you'd be pulling up the entire time and you just wouldn't be able to manage the tension. Here's the thing. When you're whining, you're managing, I would say, thinking about my one winder that tells me. I mean, if I'm really on, I can keep the tension in like a 3 to 4 gram variance. So if I let's say it's 22 grams of tension, I could go from 22 to 25 and I can keep it in there. And that's really the secret to consistent product is the consistency of the tension. No matter what happens, whether you're, what your traverse is, however many winds per layer, whatever. And the way you get that is it comes off the machine. There's a few things that, this is getting super nerdy, but there's a few things that affect that and change on the fly. Okay. So your speed, let's say you're winding up, we wind at 1,000 RPMs a minute. I can wind at 1,300, but most of the time I don't, because the faster you go, the tension changes. The other thing that changes is as the coil gets fuller, each revolution, the length of wire that goes on gets longer, right? So a foot of wire will do, was it 2 inches? So let's just say, this is super whack, but let's just say a foot of wire will go around a pickup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say 4 revolutions, a foot of wire will go around at the beginning of the pickup. At the end of the pickup, a foot of wire will probably only go 2.5 because the coil got wider. As it gets wider, it lays on, because it's actually going like this on the top of the pickup all the time, right? Like as that coil's going around, the wire's going like this, like a sort of like an elliptical bicycle chain kind of deal. And so as it's doing that, you get this tension variation because it's going like this the whole time. On the other end, down on the floor, you've got it coming off the spool. So the quality of the spool, depending how well it's spooled, and there are some companies that suck at this and some companies that don't. I use a whisker disc that really, really helps. It's a disc with like these little hairs that out the side of it. That's why they call it a whisker disc. And it helps to regulate the tension of the wire as it comes off the spool. But the tension of the wire at the beginning of the spool, when the spool is full, because we use a 5-inch, 5-pound spool, as it gets to the middle, the tension's different. So you've got every pickup, it's varying the entire time you're winding it. You've got every spool getting smaller, and you're trying to keep 3 to 5 grams consistency tension the entire time while you're winding. Long way around, wicked nerdy, but that is the crap that I nerd out about because I want it to be right. You know what I mean? Now you know why I don't have time to think about Tonewood, because it's all about this stuff for me. But that's really it. Yeah. Kind of weird. But it's true. By the way, C2 parts are cool. I agree. There's a new Veloton mini pedal that is being compared to the Tonex 170. You know, my friend sent me a text about that the other day, and I did not get a chance to watch the video on it. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch that video yet. I was going to do that. Didn't Andertons do something on it? I think he sent me a link to maybe Andertons did a video on it, and I didn't get a chance to watch it. Yeah, no, that's cool, man. I like all that stuff. And there's another one. There's another thing where it kind of doesn't matter anymore. You know, hey buddy, if it's a Kemper or if it's a Tonex, right? Whether it's $400 or $800 or $2,000. You know, I used my Positive Grid yesterday, my Positive Grid Spark Mini on that video, and it was fun. It sounded awesome. I mean, it sounded like a Spark Mini. You know, it sounded like it sounded, but it was cool. It sounded awesome. Super fun. I got a lot of compliments. People texted me after that, like, dang, that guitar sounded awesome. I'm like, it's because the profile was good. It's really why. It's because we used some delay on it. That's the other thing I'm stopping doing. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use the guitar tone that I feel. So when I make a video, I'm just telling you this now, just warning you ahead of time, that I feel the same way about this as I feel about Tonewood. I don't care. If it fits, it ships. Okay? So if I pick up a guitar and I find that this tone works, whether it's clean, whether it's dirty, whether it's super overdriven, whether it's got a bunch of delay on it, whether it's got a tremolo on it, I don't care. If it makes the guitar sound good, I'm going to use it. End of story. Everybody who's like, you need to play it clean so I can tell what's going on. No, my job is to give you what I think this guitar is good at. That's what I'm going to do. You know, now if we're demoing our pickups, I'm still going to show you what my stuff is good at doing, which usually I engineer my stuff to be good. And here's a little inside thing too. If you ever want good pickups, I care about clarity and definition, no matter how much gain you put on it. But what I really want it to do is behave at the edge of breakup. So I want it to be able to, what I really care about is what I want it to do is you pick hard and you can push it into breakup. You pick soft and it can clean up. And then you can adjust that with your volume knob. That's what I care about. That's why I use the same amp with the same knobs on the same settings all the time, so that I can gauge that with the stuff that I'm making. Yep. Your P90s, my SG Modern. Your P90s, my SG Modern or vintage wiring. I don't like vintage wiring. I don't like that interaction of the volume and the tone together. I don't personally, I don't like that. You will retain more highs at lower volumes if you use vintage wiring. However, you asked about my pickup specifically. If for those of you that play my P90s, you'll notice that when you play them just past the edge of breakup and you put everything on 10, the bridge pickup especially has got this like really good, strong mid-range. And it really growls like it's supposed to. It does what a P90 is supposed to. And then when you turn the volume down, you don't touch anything, just turn the volume down to about 7, it sweetens up a lot. And I'm using the whole voltage divider concept of a Fender style, a modern style wiring scheme to do that. The pickup does that, but then it works well with that. So I guess my answer would be modern. That's what I would do, because I like that variation. A lot of people like, like putting a volume mod on their guitar because they want that clarity. But I don't like that because it makes the guitar sound super thin when you do that. Because what's happening is you're just filtering out stuff. When you have a passive guitar and you add another filter, you're literally just making it sound thinner. So you're not keeping highs, you're stripping lows out of the guitar to make it sound like the highs are still there, but they're not actually still there. So yeah, that's the funny thing. Isn't the cap on the tone pot? It is. Hope you're doing awesome. I am. Thank you. I wanted to ask, what can I expect if I change the capacitor on the volume pot of my bass? Well, that would be on the tone. So there wouldn't be unless you have a volume mod on your bass. But I have never heard of that. But maybe you do. I don't know. What if I mod it, if I use different values, microfarads? Well, we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing here. I want to make sure I'm giving you good advice. If the tone circuit wants to be modded, you could do that, but that's on the tone pot. It's not on the volume. If it's on, if you do have a little tiny capacitor and maybe a capacitor and a resistor on the volume of your bass, I would leave it alone. Playing around too much with values on volume mods, which is what that is, can goof it up. So I would personally, I won't mess with it, but I don't like them either. So you can't boost with caps. You can only cut. That's exactly right. So here's the thing. You can't boost anything. You can't boost with anything on a passive guitar. If you have a preamp, i.e. Fishman Fluence or EMG, you can. On a bass with a preamp, you can. On a completely passive guitar, which is what normal electric guitars without active pickups is, everything cuts. There is no boost on a passive guitar. Every component you add, every filter you add, every pot you add, everything you add takes away from the potential of what the pickup can do. It is a passive instrument. So no matter what you add, if you add another component to that guitar, the function of that component will be to strip frequencies that originally existed. Period. Now, take, for example, a Reverend with that goofy thing that the Reverend does, or maybe GNL has one too, or a volume mod. You're going to be like, well, that's a high pass, low pass thing, and now I can treble boot. No, you're cutting the opposite of what you want to hear so that you hear the thing you want. So if you want to hear more highs, you cut lows so that you hear the highs. Either way, less signal is present. So you are not actually boosting anything. So you have this much available and you want to hear this, you can't boost this. So all you can do is cut this. If you want to hear this over here, you can't boost this. All you can do is cut this. And it doesn't just cut this, it literally cuts this. And when it does it, see this over here? This drops down too. It pulls the whole thing down when it does that. So that's why I don't like that stuff. That's why I think a volume and a tone with a cap, end of story. Because it will give you the most potential for what your guitar can do. Yes, it is in the tone pot. Yeah, so on a bass, you could play around with it. It'll change. It'll change it. Even on 10, even with your tone on 10, if you go from like a, now here's the other thing. If it's an active bass and you have like a 25K pot, then I wouldn't mess with it. Because that's what they are, like 25 or 100K. I wouldn't mess with it. If it's a passive bass with no preamps, then going from 250 to 500 to 1 meg, you can play around with a lot of stuff. And you can make a bass real crispy on the top end and then have to roll the tone off more. If you go to like a 1 meg pot, for example, you can do a lot of stuff with that. Yeah. And it's not expensive to play around with, right? Pots are, $6 a piece or whatever. So just the time to do it. Then you can add the right amount of gain back with compression. Not really. Not really, because compression is flattening. Think about what compression is, okay? What is the easiest way to explain it? Compression is this. If I were to have a board, let's take a 2x10 board right here, right? And I was to hold a balloon right here and start blowing that balloon up, right? And it would continue to grow, continue to grow, continue to grow until it hit the board that was right here. And I kept blowing. Then what would happen is air would still go into the balloon, but it would flatten the top of the balloon. And beyond that point, that curve of that balloon would never develop. It would just be flat because you would be holding it down with this board, right? So that's what compression is in an amp too. When the amplification circuit gets to its full potential, it cannot amplify anymore. It starts to compress and flattens that top off. What happens below that, you can play with, but you're still cutting. It's still less than what you started with. And what I think people don't realize is the very first thing to go is clarity. Now, that's okay if that's what you want, but I don't. I want clarity. I want you to be able to hear the articulation of the string. I want you to be able to hear the articulation of your pick and your fingers, because to me, that's where the expression comes from with the guitar. When people talk about a guitar breathing, which is stupid, that's what I think of. When somebody says they want to hear that and feel that, that's what I think of. Is I want you to be able to be expressive and have all that. Well, the more you take away from the potential of the signal of the sound, or the potential of the pickup, because in a perfect world, there'd be nothing. It would just be 2 wires from the pickup to the jack, period. But that's dumb. It's really hard. You can't really live like that. Like, it's not practical. So you put a tone circuit in there and you put a volume pot, right? So you can adjust that stuff. And you have to sacrifice a little to do those 2 things. Once you start adding more than that, then you just continue to kill the potential of what that pickup can actually do. And the very first thing to go is clarity, articulation, that expressiveness, all that stuff, because high frequencies are the most fragile. And because of the way electricity works, with voltage dividers and variable resistors and capacitance, those are the first things to go. So then mud ensues if you don't manage that correctly. That's what happens. Let's see. Yeah, super fun. You guys, this is a great conversation. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me today. I didn't realize that we were already to the... I try to keep these to about an hour on Tuesdays. So, yeah. This has been awesome. Thanks for hanging out. And I guess we will see you later this week. I don't know if we have a video coming tomorrow or not. We'll have to see. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe and like and share and all those things that you normally do on the YouTubes. And we will see you next time.